With the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement, the Cape May Star and Wave, the Herald, on the Township website, and has been posted on the bulletin board of Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Simonson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Beck.
Here. We have a good friend, Lou Ginsburg, here tonight. First item up is he's going to speak about Rock for Kids Music Festival. Lou Ginsburg, representing the Knights of Columbus, if you would step forward and give us some information for it. Sounds like a good program.
Just a couple things to look at. Good morning, members. Good morning. 5 days of hard work. Yeah. Good evening, members of council and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lou Ginsburg. I'm with the Urban Knights of Columbus. Last year we did our first music fest for kids' sake. It was quite a success, but we didn't have as big a turnout as we had hoped for. However, the proceeds, because we're non-profit, the proceeds are for charity, that bought about $3,000 worth of food, about 3,000 pounds worth of food that came to the Catholic Charities where I work, which was for the poor and needy. This year, again, we're having our second annual Rock for Kids Music Festival. Councilman Simonson actually was there last year. He had his own band there. We have live music from noon until 6 p.m. There'll be food and beverages, non-alcohol. That is part of the ticket. There'll be games for kids, handouts, and things of that nature. The handout that I sent around, I hope everybody takes a quick look at it. But in any case, we're hoping to get some cooperation from our township by possibly putting us on your event calendar and doing as much as you can as councilmen throughout the township to promote this great event that will raise money for children and families for food, diapers, baby food, and things of that nature. I won't go any further than that. I just wanted to get the word out there to let everybody know that this will happen on June 14th this year. It's a Saturday. It's right at the Knights of Columbus Hall on Breakwater Road, right across from the water tower at the airport. So keeping that in mind, I want to thank the council for giving me this time. I hope you all spread the word for us and let's get as many people out as possible. It is sort of a community picnic. We want to get as many families out as we can. The price is right for adults, better for youngsters, and even better for younger children because it's free. I believe it's $1,200. So thank you for your time, and we hope to see you all out there June 15th, and you'll enjoy yourselves, I'm sure. The music was wonderful. The music alone is worth the $20 ticket, trust me. But the food goes with it, camaraderie and friendship. It's a wonderful time. So thank you very much for your time here, and I hope to see you all out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, we'll turn this over to the manager and the good chief. Your team up.
We have a new camera system tonight, so Eileen's moving around and trying to get everything in sync.
Is it a working new system?
Well, it's a work in progress, put it that way.
There's no backup piece on this one tonight? Just have. Do you have both cameras going? No, thank you, Lord. Fire one ready.
Okay. Mayor, council, we're here tonight. In front of you, you're going to see this stack of documents over the last 20 years since the public safety building was put over at the airport. Now, all these documents you see in front of me, it's about 10 inches high, are from my predecessor, the prior managers, and current information that we have. We have a building that's been there 20 years. I don't know why it was ever put there, but as you know and I know, and the chief will testify to the fact that most police departments throughout the state and other states are part of the municipal complex. The only ones that aren't are state police or other federal agencies. Tonight, you're going to hear from the chief reasons why we need to get out of that building. It's not conducive to police work. It's not environmentally friendly. As I quoted in the paper, it's a sick building. You have some confidential information that's not public that you know some seriousness of problems that go on there. I also have tonight with me Margaret Vitelli from the Treasurer's Office that assisted in putting all this stuff together to give you a briefing in the booklet that you have tonight, and Dan Schowski, who Eric at the time was appointed to this study committee we did a couple of years ago. He's a resident, and he's been working diligently hand in hand with me and the chief to put together what we're going to present tonight. Hopefully I get support from all 5 of you to do what's in the best interest of taxpayers, the police officers, and the people of this community, and protect the health, safety, and welfare of all our employees over there, put them first and foremost. At this time, I'm going to ask the chief to start off. Chief Mastriano, would you please present the council with your report?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to thank everyone, Mayor, Council, and the Township citizens for allowing me the opportunity to talk about the public safety building and bring it back to the Township complex. A little background on my involvement in this. Back in 2011, when Chief Brian Marker took over as Chief of Police, I was asked to form a committee along with Lieutenant Beebe at the time, Captain now, to review our current public safety building and consider relocating back to the original location, 2600 Bayshore Road. When we chose this committee, we included administrators as well as officers from each division in the agency so we could get the best perspective from the entire agency and a complete assessment on what we needed and what we were currently lacking. This committee looked at everything from utilization of space to technology. After several meetings and several years later, we were able to come up with a conceptual design that would successfully house and support our agency and bring it into the future. I feel that with our current mission statement to enhance the quality of life in the Township of Lower, by working cooperatively with the public, this facility is exactly what we need. As you know, we have been in the current public safety building since 1995. And at that time, we were moving the agency. It was growing faster and faster each year, and the old structure was not going to accommodate the personnel. So where we relocated to the airport complex facility, that was much larger, actually too large in my opinion. The building was so large it separated everyone so far apart that we started to lose effective communications between the divisions. Now with this opportunity, I feel that we have the ability to look at the shortfalls in the design of our current facility and design a building that will fit our needs and will move us into the future. Current findings from the committee. We identified 5 areas of interest. First one was the new facility would enhance public access and accommodation. Statistically speaking, most public safety buildings are located within the municipal complexes within their township, which allows for convenience to public service at one location. It would also allow for public transportation to and from a facility for ease of access. 2, when looking at the overall demographics within the township, most of our year-round population and calls for service are within the area of the villas in North Cape May, which shows a more needs-based response to these areas. As you know, the township has taken a stand to identify and combat the issues on drugs and drug addiction. It has been identified based on calls for service and incident-based overdoses that the area of most concerns fall within those 2 areas. This would allow the new facility to be closer to those areas of concern, therefore giving us an advantage in combating the drug issues. 3, the current design and structure of the public safety building, which is one of the major issues, makes it difficult for effective management of personnel. The overall size of the building is so large that it makes it difficult to have daily contact between the divisions to ensure uniformity within. As you know, effective communication is essential to the agency, and this is a challenge in our current environment. The separation of our divisions and officers is not conducive to daily interaction. There is also no natural outside lighting or ventilation. A large portion of this building is underutilized except for storage. Most recently, there's become some serious health concerns with the previous mold issue back in 2010 and our current mold issue we're dealing with now, which is being looked into. There has been a constant issue with the current HVAC system for many years, and several roof issues which led to leaks and water damage throughout our building. Number 4, a new public safety complex will give us the opportunity to design a healthier and more work-friendly atmosphere that is conducive to daily contact based on the interior design that is state-of-the-art and efficient. It would also be able to handle the growing everyday demand for public services over the next 20 and 30 years. Lastly, it would also give us the ability to update our technology to current standards and allow us upgrade to be a more state-of-the-art facility. I understand that this is a big decision that we are asking of you, and there will be a lot of considerable cost, but I believe it has to be done. It is the best interest of our department and the citizens it serve. I believe that the public safety of our citizens should not be judged on a dollar amount, but on the services it provides over time. It is my desire to work with you, Mayor, Council, and the citizens of this township now and in the future to address any questions or issues that may arise during the consideration phase of this public safety building. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Chief. Excellent report, and I stand behind everything you've said. Just for the people watching tonight on the camera and the people in the audience, just to touch on a couple things. If you go to tab 2, which council has their books in front of them, in the public safety building, there's 65 rooms alone that deal with the police department. You have 10 interview rooms, a family waiting room, 5 squad rooms, locker room, 4 sergeant offices, 7 conference rooms, 1 communications area, 3 storage and evidence area, clergy room, 16 conference and offices, 1 computer room for administrative offices for the administration, and 12 rooms dedicated to the detectives. As the chief said, in '95 it was built 55,000 square feet, almost the size of a football field. I have 17 HVAC units, heating, air conditioning, ventilation units on that roof that are continually breaking down and being in need of replacement. Every time we do that, gentlemen, we also have to hire a crane to take the old one off to put the new one on. There's 18 bathrooms in that facility with 53 fixtures. And as you know, there's sewer gas backups that animate odors and create maintenance with that. We had to keep the garage area, the sally port you call it, heated and climate controlled so that the pipes didn't freeze for the fire suppression system. The utilities run about $95,000 a year alone for that building, and they continue to go up every year. We've put in energy savings. Margaret and Colleen and Lauren have worked on areas to try to do the best we could with some new lighting and try to cut down on the heating with these rooftop. It hasn't been successful. I mean, we've cut down, but we just keep continuing to spiral down with the cost of this building. We've spent over $4.1 million to date, and there's probably more that I haven't added up looking at all this material and checking with the treasurer's office on this location. And if you guys decide to continue to keep the police and every other entities in that building, it's the wrong decision. I can't be any more honest, because I look at the bills. I've been here, I'm in my 4th year, and I've been dealing with this issue at least once a week, constantly studying and making the improvements that need to be made, conferring with the police chief, sitting on panels with you guys. It just doesn't make good sense. You have a flat roof up there. It's either the second or there's the third roof there. I'm not sure. The architect can testify the challenges we may have if indeed we have to put a new roof on there, what it would cost. And as we all know, flat roofs really just create problems and leaks. The only answer is really to put an A-frame roof on there, about $2.5 million it would cost to encapsulate a football field. It's just bizarre. But the problems interior would continue to have problems because it was never designed right. It was just never laid out right. I think a lot of the work was done, no to discredit, but to our public, some of our public employees did the work. So over the next 10 years, 20 years, you're going to hear testimony tonight from our CFO and auditor that this is the right time. You know, I use the analogy, sorry I did on that one Clubhouse Road job, but the stars are finally aligned perfectly, where you're going to find that your bonding capacity is at the perfect optimal time to do this without a tax increase. I repeat, without a tax increase, we'll be able to put a new state-of-the-art facility, which you're going to see that's mocked up here tonight, to take care of our most important front line of defense, our police department, our police officers, and the health, safety, and welfare of those people. So on the next page goes into environmental issues, which I'll leave with you gentlemen up there. As I talked about the size of the facility, the chief testifies it makes it difficult to manage the staff the way it's laid out. For him to greet residents. Residents have complained to me, where's that police station? It's over at the airport. Well, how do you get in? And then when they do get in, it causes challenges for the people to talk with these people. So 260 feet. It's almost the entire length of a football field from one end to the other of our police department. Overall, it's difficult, like I said, for the average citizen to feel connected because it's not in the community. It's not next to the municipal building where it is in 99% of the communities I know, all through South Jersey and this state and in other states. The outreach with the police couldn't be a better location next door. Couldn't be a better location. Right behind we have our most valuable entity, and that's our children. We have the kindergarten, I believe, in first grade at the school back here. We have the recreation center that a couple of years ago council put a sub-police station in. The chief has been working with staff to have our police interact with the youth and try to counsel them and do good things. So again, for those reasons, it would be great to have the police station back here next to the library where a lot of senior citizens visit that. Senior citizens visit the senior center next door. So the new building, the next page, just going to touch real quick. A couple of years ago, maybe not even a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, the council voted unanimously to buy the Manzoni property, which is to my right and to the immediate left of others. Well, to the right of everybody, one of the people standing right behind me there. And that would, you're going to hear from Dan tonight about the new building, but by taking the Manzoni building, and that was all in mind of eventually bringing the police department back here. All 5 council people at the time knew that, and that's why we acquired that property, so we would have enough parking to accommodate the new police department to make sure that we would have all that covered. So that was done. And in this new building, the other part is we're going to retrofit this room to also be the municipal court. And in the plan that Dan will show you, the municipal court will come back here, have offices here, more convenient for the public. There's no public transportation at the current municipal court. There's public transportation here that is needed because many people today do not have cars, they just can't afford them. And the public transportation is here to get to deal with the courts. Of course, we'll have the inspections done and the approvals by the Superior Court, the Administrative Office of Courts, New Jersey Department of Corrections. The chief will work with them to be in compliance with the jail cells. We're going to work on trying to get grants. You know, it's thin out there, I'll be honest with you. It's thin out there, right, to get grants, but we will do everything to get some grants to offset the cost. But if you give the chief tonight, all 5 of you, support for a state-of-the-art building, which I promised him, that's going to be the best thing you've done for this community. I want a healthy complex. I want to get them out of that building as fast as we can. The annual savings on service contracts, around $85,000 a year. As I said, the utilities about $95,000 a year. The annual savings would be a little under $180,000 a year alone. Instead of spend that negative money over there, let's make it a positive money and put towards this new building. So the building currently right now is not ADA compliance. It's not complying as an essential building, which God knows if we had a hurricane or some serious, and that building is not it's not suitable to, it's not an essential building, which the new building will be. So the new building will become a central facility for emergency situations. It will be built properly. We're going to move all the archiving to protect all the records out of that building, and it'll go in this new facility. The chief will have their own evidence room. They'll have their own storage areas. The township will have all their storage areas. We're going to get all our valuable assets out of that building. All this is going to be done, and you're going to hear tonight, and it'll be attested to by your auditor and your CFO, no tax increase. There could not be a better time to make the move for our police department. We're going to stop wasting taxpayers' money by continuing to spend money on a building that's just not suitable or conducive for police work. So I ask for your support tonight to consider this. I'm hoping and praying that all 5 will agree. And if you do, At the next meeting, I'm going to ask to consider the bond issue, which you'll hear about from the CFO, how that works and how it will affect. And again, I can't repeat enough to the people listening, no tax increase, state-of-the-art police department. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Showski to talk to council about the project and point out what we're proposing. And then at that conclusion, I'll ask the CFO the question.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Mike said, back in 2012, Mr. Simonson had appointed me to serve on the committee to study the public service safety building at the airport. And from my viewpoint, and based on my experience, I'm well aware of all the problems, obviously, that are inherent in that building. It's basically an old building. It was built in sections. The first original part was built during the Second World War and served as a factory. So it's really not designed and was never thought of to become any type of a essential facility, especially to house a police, fire, offices, or rescue squad, and so many other uses in that building. So when we were completing our work on the public safety building, told Mayor and Mike and although I would continue on as a volunteer to work with the police department in developing a program and a design for a possible new facility over here in our present location in Villas. We looked at the space needs, and one of the things that I know from designing many facilities over the years is that we wanted to stay within realistic cost structure. So that means that we can't design a facility that just has, winds up being the same size as the existing police station. For a lot of reasons, we wanted to make sure that we had a concise and condensed plan as we possibly could that would serve the police in the proper manner, proper spaces, flow, and obviously the construction of the building. We looked at originally reusing the building next door as part of the facility and putting an addition on, some other studies, and I think we all came to the conclusion that that building, while it looks great from the outside, once again, there's quite a few areas in there that we have to address. The layout of the building and the type of structure that that building is kind of limits us with what we can do for a plan that would function properly for police, even with the addition on it. And it was a decision that we made that we would demolish that building. We weren't sure that when that building was built, and most likely it wasn't, was designed as an essential facility. And essential facilities are, we went over that in a lot of detail in our report that we presented to council 2 years ago. There's many code requirements that are placed on the design of these buildings because the buildings have to remain functioning and in place during a catastrophe, a storm, or some other event, which means there's certain code requirements we have to design to structurally, as well as being able to keep the building in operation during any type of an event as a hurricane or other catastrophe. So we weren't, we couldn't determine exactly if that building was designed structurally to serve that purpose. Along with other things, the decision was made to remove that building. We're going to demolish the building. We'll utilize the Manzoni property for parking. The new building footprint that I'll review with you folks is just about the limit, or even a little bit less than what the current building projects out to towards the Manzoni property. So we have quite a bit of land available to us using that adjacent property for parking, which is would be one of the main requirements to serve the police, court facility on court days, and generate enough parking for public use and so forth. We haven't looked in any great detail at a site plan at this point. We did some initial studies to see how the parking and flow would function. We know we could comfortably fit probably about 60 to 70 parking spaces on that site. More parking if we were to work with the senior center folks to came to county and maybe relook at the parking along the property line so we can solve, provide adequate parking on the site. So working with the chief and the police department, and actually this has been for the last 2 years now, I've done a number of different studies that led us to this plan that we have up on the easel tonight. And I think the chief can follow me with this, that we worked pretty hard. We moved a lot of spaces around. I mean, this whole thing really is a puzzle until you get the pieces in the puzzle in the right place so that they function properly and lay out properly and fall within the size building that we want to, and also to accommodate some of the other functions that Mike had pointed out that we would need in the new facility, which included a large storage area for our township files, the need for our court clerks to move over here, because we'd be using the existing room here as our court facility, and some other functions that would be associated with that. So with that being said, I'll go up to the plan. Just by way of reference, we're in the existing building.
Portable mic too, so if I can hear you.
The existing building and existing room that we're in right now, the court facility or our borough council meeting room is part of this building is outlined, and that portion is has the walls colored in a gray color. Our plan is to attach the building, the new or proposed new building, directly to this building. Actually, you would be walking into the court facility from this corridor, and approximately this location where the existing entrance door is right now. And to take you through the concept, this, everything has a certain flow, a certain position in the building as it relates to other spaces and the needs of the police facility. And obviously, because we didn't want to have the township storage and courtroom facility or courtroom uses such as the court clerk's office remote from the existing council room, which will now be also used as our courtroom facility, we wanted to locate those uses immediately adjacent to the existing building. So you'll see that the brown area towards the back of the building is a large township storage area, which in plan size is 30 by 52. So that's roughly around 1,620 square feet. The way we have the building planned, we're actually going to increase the height of the building in that area so that if the situation arises, we can incorporate a second floor storage area as well as the first floor within that zone. Not by constructing an actual structural floor. There's storage systems out there that allow you to build a platform on top of the storage units themselves to accommodate a second floor structure. So we have placed that at the rear of the building, and obviously adjacent to the proposed courtroom area, we've inserted the court clerk's office. That court clerk's office is accessed through the courtroom into a waiting area, queuing area for paying fines, or it can also be accessed from the side of the building out towards Bay Shore Road, where on days when there is not court, people coming in to pay fines can use the corridor, go in and pay their court fines, walk out of the building without coming back into the courtroom here. Also have two small mediation rooms, which would be a requirement for the courtroom as well, that could be used by clients, or if you will, who would be using who would be part of the court operation. In addition to that, we also have the judge's office, private bathroom, which is part of the requirements for designing these facilities for a judge. And the judge would be because he needs safe access in and out of the building, and to this point we really haven't sat down with him. That's going to be the next step in the process if you guys decide we're going to move ahead. He needs a safe access and safe travel from wherever he parks or comes into the building to the bench. So he would be in the Sally Port area, be able to come down his corridor into his office, could go through the court clerk's office and immediately back up onto the dais when court was in session. The remainder of the building is if you look at it, is split into two, I would say split into two parts. And the front of the building, immediately off of Bayshore Road, is more or less our command structure and some of our other uses that are connected to that. So we have two entrances to the building. The entrance off of our parking lot along Bayshore Road would be for the public, and the entrance off of our planned parking area would be for police. So the two entrances are separated. Police would enter in through this corridor that takes you right down into the courtroom. The portion of the building towards the rear here would be our facilities for locker rooms. We need a large evidence storage area room, our sally port, and areas that are associated with that, such as processing, cell areas, juvenile holding, our ladies' locker room, men's toilet facilities. We have our training and emergency management room along the outside wall, small fitness center, armory, and all those functions are all located off of the sally port in the rear portion of the building. The front portion of the building, like I said, is pretty much our command staff area and police clerks, so that public coming in would have a window that would be manned to address people coming into the police through the waiting area. This whole area, entire area, would be secured by doors and partitions. On one side, we've arranged our chief's office, captain, 2 lieutenants, squad room, and break room around this exterior courtyard that's in the middle of the building. And the reason for doing that was not just to put an exterior courtyard in, but we wanted everyone to have windows and natural light. And without extending the perimeter more, to have those offices outside, that allowed us to group these spaces, especially the functions of the chief, captain, lieutenant, and the 2 lieutenants, as well as the police clerks, which work together into one area. In the center, we have our shift sergeant's office, a storage room, 2 smaller bathrooms, and on the right side of the plan is our detectives area, where we would have interview rooms directly off of the public lobby, 2 more interview rooms for a total of 4, small chapel area for the police, detectives, sergeant, detective offices, our community policing room located off the vestibule, and evidence processing. So you can see this, and working with the chief and the police, this plan has that flow to it that works for our specific police facility. Every police station that I've worked on in some other courtrooms, everyone's different in a sense. There's different staffing, just different requirements for how these buildings work. So this building winds up to be around a little over 17,000 square feet. 12,000 square feet of it, including the storage areas, not including the sally port, is the police station. And that's pretty close to what we had discussed in terms of the spaces that we needed. None of these spaces are oversized. If you looked at these offices, they're, for the most part, what you would find in any normal office building or police station. And you can see we paid attention to how some of the furniture may lay out, how the circulation works, and some of the other functions that are related specifically to the police station. And at 17,000 square feet, we know from some historical data we've worked on, as well as published data, that these buildings run in the range of around $200 a square foot. And I know that a building like this, I look at this as being a no-frills building. This is not going to be a gilded facility where we have a lot of extraneous detailing and finish work and all. We're going to keep this simple and basic. The exterior of the building developed some preliminary elevations. If you look at the front wall, looking at Bayshore Road, our existing building, the building really, the concept of it is very simple. It's going to have a sloping roof, which would be split pretty much along the middle here. So part of the roof would slope towards the rear, part towards the front. We would eliminate or keep to a minimum any possible flat roof areas. You know, and talking to Mike and Chief, I think our best course is to have a metal roof on this building. This way we don't have to be faced with any situations where we would have to come back and re-roof this building for quite a few years. The maintenance on a metal roof, as most of you may know, is pretty much zero. We don't have the problems that are inherent with a flat roof. The exterior would be a combination of brick siding and metal roofing. The windows, I think for the most part, would probably be double hung or perhaps some type of an awning window that can be opened during times of the year when that would allow. And really just to keep it as simple and as direct as we possibly can, and obviously keep the cost under control.
Thank you, Dan. Currently, the building that they used for years next door is 4,200 square feet. This will be 3 times. This will be 12,600 feet, and then 1,700-foot sally port, a large sally port. Everybody's familiar with that. That's where we bring the prisoners in to shut the doors, and then they take them in and process them. Also, I want to let you know, Council, that currently the county is looking into central dispatch. The chief and I last week took a trip to Camden County with other officials in this county to look at the state-of-the-art facility they have up there. There's 37 municipalities in Camden County that they dispatch for, and they do a wonderful job, and Camden County study it. We're not sure, though, how soon they're going to implement it if they do. So I may have to come back, if council tonight approves us to move forward, I may have to come back at a further date if it doesn't synchronize with our plans. If we go ahead and build this building, I might have to come back to accommodate bringing dispatch over. I don't want to go through that expenditure if we don't have to bring a tower over here and all that equipment if we don't have to. So we're hoping that the Marty Palugi Emergency Management, the freeholders, get something going, and we have a plan. And it could be in sync. It could be that this building's completed, if approved, and at the same time they go to a central dispatch area. The other concern, and I talked to a young lady, and after I explained to her, she had written a letter to the editor, and her information was way up, but she understood once I talked to her about, she thought maybe the police station should be, a new one should be built at the airport. And then when I explained that every municipality, they're attached, and she understood. And I told her if there's any concerns about that, the chief and I talked about reversing it, and possibly putting a sub-police station in the airport. As the people know, that this council fully supports economic development at that airport, and if it'll enhance the security of that airport, we'll consider reversing and put a sub-police station. There's plenty of vacant buildings over there right now that could be, that the county, I'm sure, would work with us. So at this time, before council, I'm sure you have some questions. I'd like to ask our CFO and Mike, the auditor here tonight, the big question. What's the bonding capacity at right now? Is it a good time to do it? Is this the best time to do it? And what can you tell me about our bonding, where we stand?
Sure, Mike. I'm Mike Garcia from Ford Scott, the auditing firm. In the next couple of years, the township has several of your current bond issues will be making their last payments, which means new bonding capacity will free up. We calculate that in 2015, so next year, the township could sell $11 million worth of bonds and not increase the tax rate for debt service as it currently is. Because in 2015 and 2016, you'll be making your final payments on the 2011 issue and the 2004 issue. That's going to free up about $1.2 million of debt service, so potential new debt service. The year after that, or I should say 2 years after that, in 2018, you'll be making your final payment on your 2009 bonds. That'll free up even more bonding capacity in the future. But long story short, as it relates to this project, in 2015, the township could bond $11 million with no increase in the current debt service level. Now, that $11 million, the first piece that I want to make everyone aware of is you currently have outstanding short-term notes in the amount of $7.2 million. It's actually notes and unauthorized debt for ordinances you've already authorized. So you will need to, out of that 11 million, the first 7.2 goes towards the projects that you've already authorized or even borrowed temporarily in the form of bond anticipation note. So $11 million less the 7.2 that you have to fund in that bond sale anyway leaves 3.8. So as long as you could fit this project into a $3.8 million budget, you would be able to do it with no tax increase. The plan would be, you could do the ordinance, if you would decide you wanted to do it, you could do the ordinance today in 2014. You would sell the bonds next year in 2015, and the first principal and interest payments would be made in 2016. All as part of a schedule to make smooth, level debt service into the future. Also, you may ask, your question, I'm sure someone will ask, if we do this $11 million worth of bonding, does that hamstring us in the future? Well, no, it doesn't really. Because of those issues falling off, we calculate that aside from this $11 million, in 2016, you could do a $4 million bond sale, and in 2018, a $14 million bond sale, and still keep level debt service. And once again, it's because you have those three current issues will be paid off by 2018. And the plan is to make these new debt service payments coincide with the final payments on your current issues falling off to keep level debt service into the future. So all things totaled, you could borrow, you could do bond sales totaling $29 million between now and 2018 with no increase in the tax rate.
Well, thank you, Mike. I can honestly say that this council is very frugal. My wife knows I'm frugal, of course she says I'm cheap. What we want to do, and I know this council wants to do, is right by the community. And the assessments they went through last year, the cuts we've made, and there's many that the council can applaud to with the new contracts, etc. Is this the perfect timing to do it?
It's the perfect timing, first, because of what we just discussed, you have these payments going away. But also, you're in an era of historically low interest rates. They're never going to get any lower than they are, currently. So the time to do this, the time to borrow the money is in 2015. You've already committed to borrowing 7.2 for your other projects. So 3.8 would round out that total bond sale to be about $11 million, smooth level debt service, and you'd be taking advantage of the historically low interest rates for municipal bonds.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Again, I started off with this presentation, standing fully behind the police chief and his needs, and I can't be any more clearer to this governing body that I need your support, all five of you, to do the right thing for our police and the taxpayers, to abandon that building, which I've classified, and it's a sick building, and bring the police department back here, give the state-of-the-art tools they need to continue to provide the very best policing for our community. Thank you.
Well done. I have to say that for all of you, I appreciate it. There's a lot of work that was put into this. I know council has a lot of questions. I have one quick one, just to clarify something. I see in here now a bond would be 20 years.
We're estimating 14 years to repay. So even a more conservative repayment schedule will get you a better interest rate. Once again, you pay it off in 14 years. You could go up to 20, but our calculations have you paying the $11 million bonds off in 14 years.
Well, the reason I said like 20 is because you have in here $178,000 potential savings by relocating over here. That would include all sorts of different items, including the utilities, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to weigh like staying there versus here. Now, I can't imagine anybody's like really pushing forward for a flat roof. The roof has to be replaced. I think we've gone as far as we can. This is my thinking out loud. So if you're going to spend $2 million to put a truss roof over there, and it would look like the Eiffel Tower on top of a dump site or something. If you spend $2 million and then you shun $178,000 a year in potential savings by not moving here, you're actually losing money by staying there. I mean, you really multiply, say, 20 times the 178, and I think it comes out to like 3.5, 3.6 million. which you would lose by not saving that money. But then you add on a $2 million cost for a truss roof. You're up to $5.5 million to stay there without touching the interior. Now, it might sound a little convoluted way of looking at it, but you're negating potential savings. We're going to continue to pay exorbitant $100,000 a year cost for utilities alone over there, not counting all the other odds and ends. But we get rid of that if we come back here. So that's potential savings in the bank each year, 178 give or take, maybe more, maybe less. But then if we don't have that, I mean, we can't keep going over there. Something's got to be done with the roof over there. It's either got to be, you know, abandoned ship. When we started this, and Tom was here, and Eric was on council, and we began the Public Safety Building Committee almost 2 years ago, it was hopefully that we would have an orderly transition, recognize that the 20-year span on the roof was at an end, and kind of build a bridge back over here or to wherever it was, you know, the committee developed their decision. But we're going to run into a position where we're going to have to build an arc if we keep it up. You know, I mean, if the roof gets too much worse than it is now, we're going to have major problems up there. We're not sure we don't now, but it's just, it has to unfold some of the things that we're looking at right now. I'm just saying that we have to act. There has to be either some major money spent on repairs over there, or we need to unhitch from that building. I could speak for an hour about how bad that decision was, and it doesn't matter, right? You just go back and look at it. I think I was on council for a half hour when I said, you have to be kidding. I'll let the rest of council speak, because I want to say a couple of things about it towards the end. I would like to hear what council has to say.
Jeff or Tom or me? You're saying no tax increase, which I can understand with the bonding issue. The problem is, what is the cost? I've been asking this for 2 years.
Okay. As I reported in the Atlantic City Press, and I know you were
Oh,
aware.
yeah, I got the press.
Yeah.
I've been asking for 2 years and I read it in the press. That's a problem with
Well,
communication.
Because I really don't know until this is completed, until we get approval. But we're looking at about $3.5 million plus an additional $300,000 on site plan work. And I haven't had time to talk to Gary Douglas, our public works facility, because we may be able to do a lot of site work ourselves and save the additional money. So I wasn't really sure until I talked to Dan today the other day where the numbers were, and then when I talked to Rich Dager, he asked me, and I gave him the best estimate I could give him. So I think we're looking at it's around 3.8.
We know that based on a lot of historical data, and just from my knowledge of buildings similar to this in terms of what they are and the complexity, that they're about $200 a square foot. This is from RS Means, which is a national publication, but you've probably heard of them. They go through and they'll track.
I think I got that at home.
Okay. They'll track numbers across the country as what some, you know, building costs are for various building types. And right now, based on square footage, that's, you know, the best we have to follow. We haven't done cost estimates, but I'm really confident that, you know, like I said, this is not going to be, it's going to be a no-frills facility is what I'm thinking of. That's how I think of it. We're going to keep it simple, direct. We're not going to be using a lot of exotic finishes or anything. It's going to be as simple as we can. I can tell you, you won't be able to build it for any less money when we get done designing this. That's one thing that I know.
And then once it's put out the bid, then we'll get a true number. I mean, but to give you an honest answer, I did not give you an honest answer. It was going to just the best estimate from what Dan told me. I gave it 3.5 to 3.8.
And the site work is going to really, you know, once again, I think we're going to want to pay attention to what we're doing there in terms of paving and drainage and so forth. My same thing, my feeling is we want to, you know, when we work with whoever winds up being the engineer for a township or we go through that process, we want to keep that simple. We want to, you know, the drainage system, you know, trying to eliminate drainage structures, trying to do the drainage of rainwater, sheet flow, not put any pipes and, you know, other structures in here to keep the cost down. So we have to look at it entire package to, you know, keep that number down.
No problem. I'm going right with the same questions I've had for the past 2 years. Can we get out of the lease? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, we can. I've talked to county officials. I talked to Barb Bakley, who's county counsel. I talked to Ed Grant when he was the county administrator. And one of the freeholders, and I don't recall which one, but they said, no problem, we'll work with you. The DRVA said they'll work with us also.
Our lease is with the county.
Right, and it's $1 a
The
year.
problem is with the certain issues, and I've read the report that we got back on that, that was also in the newspaper article. We have to remediate that supposedly now because we called the certain agency to come review it. That's in the report. What are
Well-
we doing to remediate the problem so that everything is good for the employees? And how much is that gonna cost?
Well, I can't discuss that tonight because I don't know exactly the detail. You guys have as much information in front of you that I have, and what we want to do immediately is to take care of that, to make sure there's no issue with the employees. We want to take care of their health, safety, and welfare.
But I got a number right now, 3.8, which we could bond for 3.8. We're not gonna have a tax increase, but there's a lot of variables in this math, including dispatch, which is not included there.
As I said,
As which, I know you have to come forward, but when you say no tax increase, that means zero. We got
well, I think if
other
you listen
issues
to,
also.
Councilman, not to interrupt you, but if you listen to our auditor, our professional, he will tell you, even I think, I can believe if it went up to $4 million, and I'm not sure, and I'm just saying, we're comfortable to be able to do this facility right now. The time couldn't be any better with our debt service that we have right now.
Yeah, with the $11 million estimate that we have, we're using an interest rate that's higher than what it would currently be, so, you know, we use 5%. If you were to sell bonds today, it'd be more like 3%.
Have we passed
So-
in? Okay.
So there's room in there, but for our estimates, like I said, we have to draw a line in the sand someplace, so we said 5%, we produce $11 million. You already are committed to 7.2, so that's where the 3.8 comes from.
That's for this bond sale, or this, is that correct?
Yeah, this is the
But in
bond
the
sale.
future, there, like for instance, just to say that we did the 3.8, that 3 years from now, there was a need for another 250,000 because the chief saw something that needed to be adjusted, that we'd be able to do that.
No problem at all, like I
Okay,
said, we
I think that's the
estimate.
key. It's not that, you know, we're concerned, and I.
We are a financially healthy community, we
Yeah.
really are.
I
We're
mean,
financially healthy.
Yeah, we're
Very
residents are.
frugal.
The residents are, and that's why I'm glad to report tonight, Councilman, that we can deliver a state-of-the-art police facility right here where it belongs, no tax increase, and also tonight, it's gonna be nice that you guys can report and vote on no tax increase of the municipal tax either. It's a win-win. We couldn't be in any better shape.
Well, last time we moved over there, we've had the courts check it out, they designed their own courts, the judge, everything else, and the state came down, there's $400,000 worth of changes. So have we gone to the state yet about what is allowed and what is not allowed? with the
Yes,
courts?
I have, Councilman. About 6 months ago, Eileen, I guess it was, I had people from the courts come in. We gave an idea what we want to do. They're going to look at this final plan. We've addressed the issues they have concern about the judge's safety and all that type of stuff. And of course, they're going to have to sign off, as I mentioned in my report, along with the DOC, with our jail
Right,
facilities
but that
and
might
stuff.
be added cost, because the cells also.
There won't be no added cost. The problem you had over in that place is, as we all know the history, the county superior court, we used that temporarily while they were retrofitting Cape May Courthouse jail, or excuse me, the facilities there, the court facilities. And whatever changes they made, then we had to go and make other changes, I guess, to make it the municipal court. I'm not sure, I wasn't here then, so I don't have the history on that. But I can assure you that this plan that's designed, I would guarantee they will give a blessing, or else we'll make the minor changes, but there won't be no cost increase. Because it's
So that
just
metal
a drawing right now.
comes straight over here, the jail cells which were grandfathered to that building over there, can come right over here with no issue.
We don't know
We don't
that.
know, that's the problem. We're giving a 3.8 number with a lot of I don't knows. We have, no.
I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I don't know.
I'm agreeing that the police have to move. The building's bad. I don't have a problem with that. I sat there last meeting and said, let's bring this to the people, so that way if it is over financially, let's get all the numbers in line so we can tell the people what the numbers are.
Councilman,
Public reference.
I did the best job I can as your
I'm
manager
not arguing with that.
to deliver the best, honest, transparent report.
I don't think you can be 100% on these things.
No, we can't. And Councilman, to let the people know, we're letting them know right now, and all of us know that when you're elected, you represent the people, and you have some tough decisions to make now and then.
Gotcha.
And you know, what I say, there's the wishes we had it, when I deal with people in government, the wants that want things, but then there's the needs. The time has come. We need to take action and abandon that facility and build a new police department.
Well, I know one thing. I've toured the building with the chief. I've seen the vast rooms that are there that are not being utilized. That we're paying for the heat. And it seems that we're putting, you know, good money after bad over there. It's time to do something and do it right. I'm here to help the chief.
I just had a question. Mike, what would be, my goal,
Yes, sir.
manager, what would be the cost of, if we had to move dispatch? You know, because we don't know if it's gonna line.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, Eric. I really don't know.
Could we find that out? So
I-
there has to be an estimate to that.
I mean, you know, it's a matter of moving the tower, getting the price to move that, getting our radio people involved, and actually moving and the chief could address that, the recording systems, all the things that go along with those dispatch consoles. But I guesstimate, and I'm a layman, but just know what I do know, probably maybe $100,000 to move it over here. Plus, we might have to make some alterations in this building. I can't give you an honest answer. Eric. I wish I could.
money if we go with the county too.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to share the cost, you know, I would think, like the other 37 municipalities do up in Camden County. They share the cost.
And where is the, I guess, the rescue and the fire safety gonna be?
Well, that's a conversation that I want to have with the chief of the rescue. I've reached out a couple times. One thing for sure, and I told Tom the same thing, we're not going to kick them to the curb. We're going to accommodate them whatever way we can. And I have some ideas for them that I want to share with their chief, their administration, the people who make decisions there. They may want to go to the rear of the building where the garage is. I think it's a good, safe area, and retrofit some offices back there. I'm not certain. That's a discussion that once we get past tonight, and if indeed, God be with me, that we get the approval and you guys say go forward, then I'll have these conversations with the head of the rescue squad and the fire commissioners about the fire bureau. We already know we're going to bring the court back.
Right. Well, I think the concern is that, and I'm all for it too. I was always all for it.
I know
My
you were.
problem back from the very beginning when we were on that committee was that there were no other options presented as to where we were going to move it. I know one of the options, Dan had said, you could fit that same footprint into the garage area, which was a safe building. But regardless, I want what's best for the police department.
Thank you.
Okay? If that means bringing it here, I have some concerns about the infrastructure around here. 1995, it was a lot different here. I grew up here. You know, you didn't have the senior center. The library's been added on to. Okay, the school, you know, all these things that it's going to be made. It's going to be a major project out here in front as far as infrastructure goes. That's one of my concerns. Like I said, the one problem I had was never about the building's a mess. All right, they deserve better, and that's a fact that we all agree on up here. I think everyone here agrees on that. It's, you know, there were no other options on the table as where we moved it, and they were kind of, you know, it was this or nothing else. Now, with that being said, regardless, this is where we are, and time is of the essence, I think, when people start getting sick, things like that. So I agree with you, but I think, and I have to, you know, there's a lot of questions as to the money. Like, I'm sorry, if we had to move the dispatch back, there are some, you know, there's some things that maybe, is there some estimates we could get very soon that we could, because, you know, I don't think we can promise the people 3.8 and then have these other things come up. What are we going to do with the rescue and the fire? If we have to build them offices, that's going to cost money. If we have to, you know, it's just,
Yeah,
I
the
think
rescue
there's
is a
still some
private
question marks.
Yeah, the rescue squad councilman's a private entity, as you know. It's not
Right.
part of our tax rate. It's not part of our municipal.
But it's still the building that we're leasing.
We support them. They're part of our public safety. We don't lease them. The facility's been there for them. And again, we'll accommodate them. We're going to make sure they're safe. As far as the dispatch, you know, again, I'm not, you know, I don't want to hold this thing up. I'll come back to you at the time, and the public will know it, if indeed we have to move. We may be talking 18 months, 24 months down the road. And I'm hoping in the next 2-3 months, we're going to know exactly from Marty Palugi, the county, that if the towns are going to sign off. I know the fire communities and rescue communities in this county want this central dispatch. There's just a couple police communities on the islands that there's a little debate about it, but I think it's going to be moving in that direction. And the bare minimum, I know they've talked about just the police might be starting off with Lower Township and Middle Township, and then they'll do all the fire and rescue community. But I'd ask you just not to hold this up. If we could just make consensus. All I can do is be as transparent as I can, give you the honest figures that I can, and let you know that could happen. On a 1 to 10, do I think dispatch is going to come over here? And I know Chief and I, we debate about it because we haven't heard nothing really definite from the county. I would say it's going to go. It's going to go to, we're one of the counties in the state that still does not have a centralized dispatch. So it would be a cost savings to all the taxpayers in our community and throughout the county by not duplicating this expensive equipment. We want to have state-of-the-art equipment for our police. We heard last week up in Camden County where they retrofit all the police community on a frequency where people can't listen on the monitors, drug dealers can't hear them on their cell phones where the police are and where they're coming and when things are going down. I want, and I know all 5 of you agree, the very best for our police to protect them and to protect our citizens and to be able to fight crime in a most effective way.
I just have my last question. I know most and the mayor. So included in this cost is the construction on Bay Shore Road is going to need to be done included in this cost. I'm assuming there'll probably have to be another traffic light.
No, I had some preliminary discussions with, I guess it was Dale Foster about that. I mean, I don't see a need. I mean, let's just remind ourselves, when we had the flower club here, the garden club, there was not a parking spot available out back or around or next door. No traffic issue going in and out. Now think about it. You're going to have your police on duty. So it's not going to create a traffic issue. The police cars will be coming and going as needed. There's a controlled traffic signal right here. If we have to make some little changes the other way, and eventually there's a plan that I may come before council that there may be a little shun road back this way that'll hook down the road to the Bay Shore. So there's options, but I can assure you there will not be any traffic concerns, and we're not going to waste money on a traffic study because after talking to Dale Foster, our county engineer, he said he doesn't see an issue. I mean, there's not going to be a volume of people rushing and coming and going where you would need a traffic signal. We haven't had any accidents out here since we made that new entrance and exit down here at the other end of the parking lot, the one that Public Works did. Councilman, I don't think that's an issue. I share your concerns, but there's no issue.
Well, I've been here when school lets out. People are trying to get in the library and also trying to get in here. And I can just imagine the police in and out as well. I'm sure.
Chief, have you had any accidents as a result in this area?
No, we haven't had any accidents.
No, well, the police station isn't here.
Correct.
So.
No, but I'm saying, even when the police station was here before, there wasn't a traffic issue, and there's not going to be really any changes.
There weren't all these buildings. It was just a rec center too. And
If you want a traffic study done, and you guys authorize that, then it's going to be more expensive.
I'm just asking because I'm not, I appreciate your work. It's the fact that there's still a lot of question marks as to the money, and it's,
Well,
it all mounts up, and we end up paying.
there's always unknowns. I mean, last year, we didn't know we had to spend money and fight a school issue. There's always these unknowns, so there's never, it's just a moving, all we can do tonight is give you the best bottom line, up-to-date report, and hope that we have all 5 of you supporting so we can move forward.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we see here is everyone agrees that the current option is not an option, which is being where we are, $178,000 a year, good money going after that, and we have a $2 million roof we're looking at. So staying where we are, everyone agrees, is the wrong answer. So what is the best option as an alternative if we have to have an alternative? And it seems like it's expected in any municipality that you would have your police station at your municipal headquarters. That just makes sense. There's a reason why people do it that way. There's all kinds of communication and connections and relationships and working together that it's fostered by being in the same facility. Furthermore, we've heard testimony that given where the need is, we are centrally located. And so then when I consider every other option, this has to be the least expensive option that's out there. Because we have the land, we're building on what we already have, we purchased a lot next door in order to facilitate parking. This has to be the least expensive option. And then the final thing I'm hearing is that everybody's looking at doing this thing as cost effectively as possible. $200 a square foot is a very reasonable estimate. You can't know exactly what it's going to cost until the bids come in. But you can know, based on history, how much a square foot for a building such as we're looking at. So, given that understanding, we can be pretty close. So it seems to me it all leads to the conclusion that we're doing the right thing. And I want to thank every one of you for the work you've done doing all the research. And we're going to have to continue to do this to make sure we can deliver this within budget. I mean, the work's just beginning, right? Okay.
What saddens me is the fact that if we took the $4 million, and I know, and I keep looking at this, that we spent over at the airport, and we had that as a building right here now, we're not talking about a new building, we're talking about upgrades for a couple $100,000. It just was a awkward, crazy decision. And there's three components that I look at. And, you know, like Mike and the chief, this was my living here. I taught at the academy, I've been involved in community policing, and neither here nor there, but the point is, from a financial perspective, I think it's a win to move back here. I think in the long run, replacing that roof, and we don't know what's underneath it when we opened up that can of tuna, because you're going to have all sorts of other issues that will follow right along with that. We would negate the potential savings per year if we were to stay over there. So from a financial perspective, and it's the most opportune time to do it, everything's there. It makes sense. From an administrative perspective, I don't know how the manager survives without having ready access to the chief. It is astounding to me that the most important department for public safety is, the most important township department, the police are 3 miles away. And it's great that he has a cell, and it's great that you can call him, but it completely negates the interaction that takes place when you're able to sit down in the morning, and what do we have, chief? Manager, I've got this going on, I've got a problem here. Having them together can only improve not only the individual communication, but the whole concept of teamwork within the townships, all the departments. So from an administrative perspective, it is an absolute home run. From a police philosophy perspective, and from all of your current law enforcement, theory and community policing, there's an intrinsic value to a police station that was completely negated by putting it in the back of an airport. The question I would say to you is, well, would you put a Wawa in the back of the airport? Is absolutely not. You wouldn't have any customers. Well, the police have customers too. I mean, we could talk about not having transportation to the police building, which is absurd. But that was what they did. I guess they didn't think of it. But there's an intrinsic value in not only in the safety, because the bad guys see a police building and all of a sudden, it makes them think twice. But it's the perception of safety that is important. People would drive down Bay Shore Road and see the sign that says, and coming from North Cape May to Villas or whatever, or residents or summer people, and see the sign that said police. And they felt a sense of security. It's the same security you feel when you pull into the 7-Eleven and you see 10 kids there, and you're thinking to yourself, do I get out of my car, do I want to do this or not? And a police car pulls in. And you do get out and walk in. It's why businesses want police to ride by. It's the whole concept of having this building. We lost that value by putting it in the back of an airport. It's not something that's spoken of, but it's true. This building, which will say police, will say safety. And people will feel better just knowing that the police building's here. It's an important concept, but I think that just
slid by a lot of people. They were good people. They did what they thought was right 20 years ago. I was so astounded by it. I'm telling you, I did research on this thing. I got all the minutes. I've said this before. I went to the Herald and sat in the library at the Herald and went through all the Heralds from about a 3-year period, hoping to find out something that I didn't know, that I missed. And you know what I found out? Nothing. Nothing. This is the opposite. That was like, let's just do this, and everybody jumped on board. As the analysis 10 years ago, or 7 years ago stated, it was like a bargain's only a bargain if you can use it. Well, we couldn't, so it was never a bargain to begin with. The number one option from that study was to bring the police back here too, by the way, and to make this one complex with the police here. That was the path we took in the Public Safety Committee. But the difference between what took place 25 years ago and what's taken place here over the past 2 years is we've studied this thing to death. We've looked at this from every possible angle. We formed a citizen committee. We've had them report here. We had an engineering firm in '04, I guess it was, do a complete analysis of the building. We also had in 2001 the state report that came out on a review of the entire township. And all arrows pointed back here. The committee that sat there and looked at this thing for 6 months and delivered the report in July of 2012 recommended unanimously that this would be exactly following that. This council unanimously, if I'm not mistaken, decided to begin to prep for that by going out and spending $200,000 to buy the main zoning building. It made sense. It was the way government's supposed to be doing things. It's orderly, it's the way that we take one step at a time and we examine this thing from one end to the other. And it's inescapable that we move back here. I think it just makes sense from every direction. You guys did a phenomenal job. I think what you did here was a lot of work. And I certainly, appreciate it on behalf of council. Do we want to take questions from the outside? Does anybody have a problem with that? I mean, rather than wait. If anybody has a question they wish to get up, I saw a gentleman raise his hand. Yes, sir. About this specific task.
Why, I can't ask about the roads?
No, we asked about what?
The roads?
Well, because we'll have to call to the public later. This is strictly about this.
Yeah, this is about this, right?
Okay, yes, okay, go ahead.
You got it. Well, I wanted to say, first of all, you're like my wife. You're gonna spend $3.5 million and tell how much you're gonna save me? That's just,
Well, we're gonna spend,
although you're spending a lot more money than she does.
We're gonna spend a lot of money one way or the other.
And I guess the only question I would have for Mike is why do you not know, I mean, you've made this big presentation to spend up to $4 million, you don't know how much it costs to bring the dispatch over here?
No, because I honestly believe that we're gonna go to central dispatch, and I don't think it's gonna cost a whole lot of money, but I don't have an up-to-date estimate from anyone. I didn't think it was needed at this time.
Well, the dispatch is a big part of the police station, right?
Sure it is.
Yeah, I just, I thought if you had that cost associated, it would help everybody understand what the cost value is.
Well, you have to understand also that I believe the county's gonna go with central dispatch. And as I reported tonight, if it changes, then we're gonna have to consider bringing it over here.
Okay.
And then I'll have an honest bottom line cost for you and everyone else.
All right.
That decision may be a couple months away.
Yeah.
We have to move.
All right, well, I know everyone's well-intentioned, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense, and if you're gonna save all that money, that's a good thing. I guess my only concern is I got that little green card, that tells you what the government says your house is worth, and the assessed value of my house went down, but my taxes didn't go down. And the gentleman is talking about having all this money coming available. So I'm just saying, let's not make it the balloon theory, and that, we just expand the amount of bond money available to fill the need we have to meet the expense.
We tried that 20 years ago, it doesn't work. But you won't see an adjustment in your taxes until after we pass our budget, right? I mean, the tax bills won't come out, the new tax bills won't come out until August, okay? So the mere fact that your adjustment's been, or assessment's been adjusted does not mean that you're going to get a rebate for this year.
No, I understand it.
Okay.
I guess my point is, I'm not so much concerned about no new taxes but to look at it in a longer, larger view about actually reducing taxes, so that you don't have to spend all this money in bond money coming down the track.
I agree.
We're already the highest state
Right.
for state and local taxes in the country.
Right.
So I don't, you know,
Well,
we ought to look at ways to reduce the tax, and if this helps us do that, then it's a net gain. And we don't have to spend all this 11, 9, 29 million dollars that's available in bond issues through the next 20 years.
well, the one thing that makes people mad is spending twice for the same item. And that's
Right.
why we went through all of this, to try and make sure that never happens on our watch.
But you always do the best you can, right, with the information you have, and things change.
We've
So-
involved not only all the officials we get our hands on, but we had a township committee of private citizens that came out to help us with this. And we made sure, and then we hired an engineering firm. So all arrows point this direction.
Right.
We've done the best we can.
It's well intentioned, we're
Thank you.
all on board with that.
Okay.
So just do what you can to control costs.
Thank you. Yes, in the back.
Thank you. Tom Frizzoli from the Villas. I feel like I'm a redneck. I'm way up in the North Villas after hearing the way you guys put down what happened 25 years ago. I don't think we sat there and said, well, 25 years from now, we're going to have a council up there and we're going to put through murder. That's not what happened. And we didn't come in one day and say, well, there was 3 of the Democrats or 3 Republicans and 2 of the other. What are we going to do this council meeting to stir things up? Let's just let everybody know we're going to move right down to that airport. None of that happened. And I think it's unfair of all of you who made statements to the fact that what happened was a blunder. We had the same concerns facing us back then. And before I go any further, I think what you're talking about, I agree 100% has to happen. But in all fairness, you have to understand where we were at. We had so many police, we had so many detectives, we only had so many jail cells, we had no place to put these people. They came to us, we didn't go to them. They begged us, what can you do to help us? The rescue squad, they were all up here behind the Wawa. They wanted to move. We had the people from Shawcrest and from down there in the Crest, they wanted some protection, police and fire in that area. So when we moved and we made these decisions, council, we didn't do it for any other reason but to satisfy the same people who you were trying to satisfy today. I just want that known, you
I think
understand?
everybody said.
That's the way you talk tonight.
I think everybody has said that the council that sat at that point was well-intentioned. It didn't work out, though. Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you. Somebody has their hand up. Mr. Rizzo?
Good evening, gentlemen. Robert Rizzo, Mickles Run. 80% of the people at least agree with you. Go do it right now. Vote on it right now.
Thank you. I would like to get a consensus from council to move forward so that the manager has that information and we can prepare for the next meeting. I'm not sure what our steps are, right, Mike?
The next step would be to prepare a bond issue for council to vote on, and I'll try to have between now and next meeting a guesstimate. And I'll talk to the chief, to talk to our communication people on the cost, if indeed we have to move the tower and dispatch back over. But I would ask for consensus and move forward tonight. And then, if so, gentlemen, we'll move forward to bond issue, and then also I will give you I'll negotiate with the architect for the plan.
Okay.
As a
So,
professional service
You
contract.
want to do a roll call to move forward?
Councilmember Conrad?
I find it funny, after the last meeting, I asked for us to put it on as a referendum for the public. We get this put together, we get a booklet on Thursday, and we're asked to vote to move forward on the Monday after. I have questions, I thought they would be answered tonight. They haven't been, they weren't answering. Well, it's the same questions for 2 years. We've been prepared for this. I just want some simple answers for numbers. I want solid numbers, not estimates. I need better numbers. We're trying to push this forward. I'm not asking you to put it on bond next. I'm being told you can bond next year. We've got all this time. But now all of a sudden it's, let's do it now.
What don't you have answered, Councilman?
You're saying possibly 3.8, but you don't know about the courts. You don't know about the jail cells.
No, I do know about the courts. I told you that there's not a problem with its design, and I can assure you that the administrative courts, make them now look at it, are going to go along with it. What's the other one?
Jail cells?
The jail cells, I don't know. We're going to try to move those portable
There's
jail
too many
cells
who don't
over.
knows is what I'm saying.
Tom, do you want to design the building?
No, I don't. I want to move.
Do you want to do what's best for the police department?
I think we've already proved that I.
What questions do you need answered? I've tried to do my damnedest, along with that 10 inches of reports. The prior managers were recommended that we come back here to get out of that building and move forward. You heard the chief give his report tonight. He couldn't be more appealing to move on this thing. But what else do you need answered? I can't give you an exact answer on what the costs are going to be till we get estimates, and we got to go with our professionals with a guesstimate of what it's going to cost.
This is a preparation. It's not a vote to say, absolutely, we're doing this, but it's basically to prepare.
I understand that, but I've been asking the same questions.
What are the other questions? I want to answer them tonight. I'll stay here all
You
night.
haven't, all you've been saying is, I don't know. I don't have that information.
I gave you an honest answer. What, do you want to say it's going to be 3.9.125? I don't know. I'm only going by what the professionals tell
Until
me.
we go down the road, it's an estimate. And anything
Then why are we saying there's going to be no tax increase?
Excuse me, Mayor. I think, maybe tonight, if you give a consensus to hire an architect, then maybe the
have an
architect
exact
can
figure.
come back with some numbers, then you can prepare the ordinance.
I think that's a
I
better
think maybe
idea.
that's what the manager was trying to.
I can live with that.
I think that's what the manager was getting at. If you give us the go-ahead tonight to do a resolution to hire an architect, then the architect can come back with solid numbers, then we can give you the numbers and bond the numbers. Am I right? I think that's what
I know
we're
we know
going
you're here for.
Julie, what ward do you live in?
First word, right here.
Yeah.
You come to all the meetings.
Yes, I do.
Tom, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just want to move forward. So whatever process you decide on, I can only be as transparent as the chief and every other professional up here to give you the best answers. As far as moving those portable jail cells, I don't know. We'll try to do that. But I can't tell you if we can do it or not.
Let's have somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we hire an architect,
Hire an architect.
Get the-
Authorize the manager.
authorize the
to hire.
manager, hire the architect, so we can come back with solid figures to satisfy Tom.
I'll second that.
We'll bring a resolution in front of
That's
council.
fine. Whatever it takes to get it moving.
Well, Mr. Bowl, I think, and I kind of agree, I'm sure everybody agrees to an extent, that it's tough to go forward with that much money involved. We're talking $11 million from, I realize some of the other stuff has to be built, but we just need a little better, I think a little, I don't expect to have.
Where's the 11 million coming from?
Oh, whoa, you can't yell out. Can't yell out.
He said it earlier.
You're talking about what the auditor said, right?
What?
What the auditor was saying.
Yeah,
is
well,
11
regardless, I think if we just, and I don't think anyone expects specific down to the penny, but a little better idea, and I think we're all on board as far as moving forward, if we can have some concrete, I for one am uncomfortable moving ahead with something that I can't, when people ask me how much is it gonna cost, I don't know. And I think that's the problem.
The problem is, until you have an architect, you're not going to.
Right, exactly.
And Councilman, I appreciate that. And as I said, I say it in humor, my wife tells me I'm cheap and I say I'm frugal, but I know you guys are also. And the best estimate I had was about 3.5, and depending on how much site work we can do, if we could do it in-house, it could be up to 300,000 if we don't do it in-house. So they're the best numbers I can give you at this point, but I will, for Tom and the council, have before the next meeting, an estimate from our communication people that do our police dispatch on what it would cost, if indeed, and I hope we don't have to move it.
Right. Well, there's a motion now, go ahead, Julie.
There was a motion and a second. Councilmember Conrad?
For the architect, yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Okay, so for clarification, council, I will negotiate for the professional services of the architect. I'll get on that right away. And we'll ask him to send out and start getting some prices.
Exact numbers, as close as we can.
And then I'll come back to council with a number that we want to bond, a bond issue, and we'll talk about that. Does that address all your questions? I really appreciate, and I apologize if you think I was being argumentative about it, but I feel very passionate about this project, and I know you guys do, and I know you want to provide the best public safety, so thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. All of the people that were up here tonight, you did a great job. Thank you. All right, you want to take a moment to wrap up your stuff here, we'll move down to the consent agenda. Is anybody on council?
Yeah, I just wanted to move payment without down to regular I talked to the manager earlier, I don't believe, I'm not an advocate for hiring another in-house engineer, therefore I would be, I don't agree with paying the $1,200 and what is it, over 1,200 hours in advertising for one, so that's all.
Okay. All right, does anybody else have any comments or questions on the consent agenda? Open up the public portion on the consent agenda. If anybody has a question or comment, wish to address council. Yes, sir. This is strictly the consent agenda now.
Right, yeah, I just want to clarify 128, South Jersey Power Cooperative.
Yes.
Is that just township?
Yes.
Not the residents?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments on the consent agenda only? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion? Oh, no, you got to read. Go ahead.
Approval of minutes from April 7th, 2014. Resolution 2014-119 through 2014-129.
Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
Make a motion.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2014-118, payment of vouchers, $294,058.28.
Okay, is there any council comments on this?
Made one.
Okay. Is there any public comments on this? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
No.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Now we have our budget.
Resolution number 2014-130. This is adoption of the 2014 budget, and this is the public hearing and final adoption.
Take it away. You guys want to talk on this? Michael, it's Lauren, do you want to, nobody wants to speak.
I'll just say a couple things and then I'll hand it off to Lauren, and then you can open the
Or
public
Lauren.
hearing to the public. First, the budget that you have in front of you is the same budget that you introduced previously with one amendment that was on the consent agenda to add some grants, so no new spending. It's a revenue offset by an appropriation. And to also to reclassify the state aid. The state switched some categories of state aid, but the total is the same. So the bottom line tax levy is the same budget that you introduced previously. That budget is within the 3.5% spending cap. You're actually $851,000 below the 3.5% spending cap. You're also required to be below the tax levy cap, the 2% cap on tax levy. This budget is $1,084,000 below the 2% tax levy cap. So you're below both caps. As everyone's aware, there was a reassessment in the township that went on the books in 2014. So comparing this year's rate to the last year's rate, it really doesn't compare. But what I can tell you is, if the assessments were the same in 2014 as they were in 2013, the tax rate would be the same. So in essence, there is no tax increase. There would be the same tax rate had the reassessment not occurred. Lauren?
The reassessment was the main issue, but there's no increase due to spending.
Okay, so, well, first of all, we can't hear you, but
We had talked about some factors that led into this. I mean, we had an increase in our tax collection rate, correct? What did that go from?
The collection rate went from 97.21% to 98.2. So you collected a full percent
Yes.
higher in 2013 versus 2014.
Sue Jackson deserves a lot of
It's the
credit.
best collection rate we've had in 10 years.
Yeah, okay, so we want to make sure we sing out the praises of the people that were involved with this, and certainly Margaret and Lauren. We also had, we have been very, and council deserves a lot of credit on this, as far as adjusting contracts. When we sign contracts, we've been able to get new starting salaries and different things like that, which are starting to show a benefit now as we speak. We've had the employee health contribution, has become another year. It has risen again because it was, I think, a 4-year plan originally. Perhaps, and again, we've talked about this before, the reassessment that Art did and his crew going up and down, that was like all hands on deck last year at this time, because what that did was prevented us from sitting back as we had to do last year. There's nothing more aggravating than having to raise taxes and you don't get the money. And that's what we did last year, because some people had gotten their properties reassessed ahead of other people, so it lowered their values. So in order to pay for what we needed, the people who did not had to pay a little extra last year. Okay? So now, by moving as quickly as this council did, and the manager and Julie was involved, and you certainly were in Art, to bring that to a level playing field, we're not sitting here saying we can't help it, but we're raising taxes again this year and we don't get the money. So that was probably a really significant move on the part of the township to affect that. Ouch. The fund balance, it's its highest point in 10 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we actually limited contract increases to 0.2%. Is that correct? Well, that's very significant when you look at it. Doesn't mean that the veterans got it. It means that because of the new salary scales, the new hires are not being paid as much, so that worked out. Okay. Does council have any other observations? You did a great job. I mean, that's as best I think that we can do. Is there any questions from the audience as far as this goes? Thank you.
Quickly.
Oh, go ahead.
This is one of my worries, is the adoption. I have no problem with the budget. Wonderful job. You know, I always ask you, is this sustainable this year? There's no question on it. My problem goes back to the capital. I know it's in there. I don't have a problem with that. I understand that. The problem is, we said Roseanne Avenue was going to be repaired, and it was going to be used for the money from the fishing pier. The problem is the fishing pier wasn't budgeted. So where we have $3.8 million possibly to spend, we have to fix Roseanne Avenue. There are no other road repairs in that money for our capital improvements. The only big spending we have is the police station. No roads are getting repaired. I don't know what's going to happen with the other things. That's with the zero tax increase. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, we're waiting. The one thing we did was to apply for the resiliency grant, which we should have heard, I think, a couple weeks ago, which we should probably call again. And what that would do is, because of the kind of the difficult nature of that area over there, and this would enable us to pay for engineering fees for not only Roseanne, but also the entire township, including, say, Fishing Creek, the Bayfront, things like that. And we partnered, DEP selected us as one of the partners in this application. We just haven't gotten the word yet. And if so, that would be the first step towards what we're talking about.
And, you know, I'm just worried about the actual repairs.
Well, and hopefully, if they do that, that they'll point us in the direction of some funding for this initiative.
I hope so too. That's,
And if, you know, we'll do what we have to do over here. But at the same time, just like that's a need, what we've talked about here tonight's a need also. So, okay, thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve that? I lost my agenda. Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2014-05, an ordinance revising and restating Chapter 529, secondhand merchants and dealers of precious metals of the Code of the Township of Lower. This is also the second reading and public hearing, and this ordinance was made available to the public.
Okay, is there any council comments on this ordinance?
what happens, Mr. Gelsons, what happens with existing?
Thank you, Mike.
What happens with
Thank
existing
you.
businesses?
Thank you very much. Sorry.
They'll be able to come into compliance, the balance of the year, we discussed this, balance of the year.
You're not on the microphone.
Okay,
Because it's existing businesses will have the balance of the year to come in.
What happens within a year if they don't? Because, I mean, we have some established business that does secondhand business, secondhand selling. If everything's good, it's, we've been in business for years, are we going to be shutting them down?
If they don't comply with the ordinance, they'll be subject to the penalty provisions in the code, which is up to $1,000 fine.
Or imprisonment in county jail, or?
Which is very unlikely. It most likely resolves itself in a small fine, and then they come into compliance.
There are a lot of businesses that are exempted out.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Charitable.
nonprofits,
Yes.
everything like that. I'm just looking at the actual, I mean, this is,
Well, remember, we had the police that came in and recommended.
well, no, I know, but the more I read it, the more I talk to people, it's like
Well, what this,
1984 type of stuff.
no. What this ordinance did, it was a pre-existing ordinance that governed transactions in precious metals.
Right.
And this ordinance simply expands that to all secondhand merchandise. It's not exempted in the exemption area. Because what we learned from the police department is a lot of items stolen are just as or more valuable than precious metals. For instance, fishing gear, and there's all types of things that were being stolen. And the police have tracked these down to the various secondhand merchants. Now, what is done is, I understand, is that most of these secondhand merchants are putting these things on eBay anyway. And that the compliance with this ordinance is the same procedure, basically, that they would have to go through to put something on eBay. They have to take a picture of it and document it and determine the value. What they're doing is they're putting that same information into an internet base that the Township Police Department can then access and look at the photograph of the individual when they came in, what the item was. So if something is stolen, they simply look at the picture without having to actually go to the secondhand merchant location and conduct an inspection. So it's really not that much burden on the business owner.
No, but it's, let's say someone wants to open a used bookstore. Somebody out there wants to bring their books in to sell to them.
Well, that's a bad example, because the bookstores are exempt under
Okay.
the ordinance, but I understand.
That's because I was looking
what
through
you're
that, I'm
saying.
finding certain things.
Charitable organizations.
Charitable, a used bookstore is not a charitable organization.
Clothing is exempt.
Closing, go back to the intent.
That's what I'm trying to look for.
The intent of the ordinance
Okay.
is to,
The higher, okay.
is to put a damper on or a deterrence against.
Come look. It was just that 10-day holding period for everything, the 10-day, it was pictures of the people selling, which I can understand on valuable items. But it's, I guess my father-in-law's estate has given me a different idea of what you have to go through, and that's, I just don't want somebody to go through that.
Oh, no, that would be, you can be licensed, again, the exemption provision, the existing yard sale,
Yeah, well-
licensing scheme under the code.
Well, what I mean is you take out someone that's turning their stuff over to try to get it sold, either on consignment,
Right.
but it's an estate or something like that, it's,
Those are one-time
Yes.
occurrences. This is, if somebody's setting up a business within the township,
as a storefront business, and they're gonna be regulated under
Yes.
this ordinance. This does not govern sales.
Oh, no. The person selling to them has to have their picture taken also, from what this says.
Correct.
That's the part I was getting to.
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right, I think we're good on this.
Yeah, okay. Where did we leave off?
Public comment.
Public comment on this?
Did we vote on it?
No, we got
We're still in the
sidetracked.
hearing.
We got motions though, right?
No, we didn't. We're doing a public comment on this. Is there any public comment? All right, we'll close the public portion now. Do I have a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Move down to administrative reports. Is there any council comments or questions on administrative reports? Move to council comments.
You've been here long enough tonight. I hope everyone had a good Easter. Budget's passed, zero tax increase, that's highly important. Have a good night.
All right, I got just a few things, because I want to clarify last week, or last meeting, when we passed a resolution for Colleen Crippen, our grants coordinator, to go to the county and apply to the county for the Shore Road, Beach Road access plan. Obviously, as we learned today, things in government take a long time. That idea can see the rec board, they rank their ideas of what they'd like to see happen, so that the recreation of the township is on par with what they would like to have available for the kids and the senior citizens and everyone. And so they had their 5 things. And in 2010, when this idea was first hatched, Wayne Mazurk was sitting in this seat. And then it was developed in 11 when Eric sat in the seat. And the engineering was paid for in 2012 when Walt Craig sat in this seat. So it flew under the radar, and the peer idea and trying to get county money, not 3.1 of Lower Township's money, all county money through the Open Space Act was the goal that we worked about a year and a half on. We had the DRBA online. The county thought it was a great idea, and that's a pier that everybody in the county could use, not just Lower Township. And obviously that had some issues with the people that live in the area, but it doesn't matter because the Army Corps engineer killed that idea. So the rec board then put the Beach Drive, Shore Drive as their top priority. That's what they came to us with, and that's what we looked at. Now, obviously, a lot of people didn't even know this plan existed, and we want to give them a chance to give their speech, to give their talk. So I myself want to apologize to Rob Reel, the past Townbank Property Owner Association, because it sort of was implied that the permit that was signed, because the easement that the property owners own from Englewood to Avalon, the 6 feet of concrete curbing that was going to be put there for ADA accessibility to the beach, everybody has a real strong idea whether they want it or they don't want it. And we want to give everybody a chance, but we want to dispel the rumors. So that's why we're going to set up a meeting. The application is not going to the county in the near future at all. Okay? We'll have it set up. Everybody who has spoken against it, everybody who emailed, either me or Julie will be contacted. The property owners, I've already reached out to the president, he'll get contacted. Those that aren't property owner members that live in the area, it'll be posted on the township's website. We put a little thing in the newspaper, and we will say something from here when we're going to have it. I'll meet with Colleen, she's the grant writer, and she's still on vacation, so I just got back myself from vacation. So everybody, the objectors, the ones that are for it, can have their say on what they think. And keep in mind, we're going to the county to ask for the $900,000 to do it. If that isn't enough, somebody said the engineer estimate is low, well, that can all be hashed out. It's the tax money that we pay through the open space that's now allowed to be used for recreation. And, I mean, I can imagine if we said we were going to have a swimming pool. Yeah, exactly. I see the head shaking already. But that, believe it or not, that is also one of the things on the rec board's 5 wishes or wannabes. So that's where this whole thing hatched out. We're going to listen to everybody's
point of view on this before we eventually send it up. Because the last thing we really want to do is go to the county, ask them for $900,000, and have it be torpedoed at that meeting, so that then the open space people say, well, you know what, Amanda's Field and Upper Township is more important. They're more together with everything, they're going to get the money. So we want to be, you know, if the idea is not going to happen, it's not going to happen. But everybody's going to get their say, and it'll probably be somewhere, maybe beginning of June, and that way everybody who has a second home up there to pay their taxes that don't want it have the opportunity to say so, and they'll be down for the summer.
Very good.
That's it.
Thank you. All right.
I just want to hope everyone had a happy Easter. And just a reminder that, I don't know if you had that on there, I know the mayor's usually there, but this Saturday is opening day for our Little League baseball. It's not just baseball, it's also t-ball, softball. Have over 700 kids involved. It's quite a day for families and citizens. And that's this Saturday. Thank you. That's it.
A member of the Public Works team let me in on a little secret. And that is that there's a gentleman by the name of Bill Evans, who's a citizen of this township, who routinely walks up and down Bay Shore, right up here, and picks up trash. And doesn't get paid, didn't ask permission, just does it. And not only does he pick up trash along Bay Shore, but we saw him mowing the lawn of the Foster House, which is owned by the Historical Society. And you know, this is what makes a community great, is when people will do things like this to spruce up our streets and just not ask for anything. So Bill Evans, our hat is off to you, sir. And if you don't mind, I'd like to recommend that we put your name up on the board just because you didn't ask us to. And secondly, speaking of volunteers, as you know, the Escape the Cape is coming back, which is a pretty big deal for Lower Township. This year, 1,500 people will be jumping off the ferry. They'll be coming from all parts of the country to show their athletic prowess, and they're going to start by jumping off the ferry, swimming to our shore, and then riding their bikes and running. And we want to spruce up everything in anticipation of this great event. And Public Works will be organizing a volunteer party to clean up the beach in anticipation of these folks. If they're going to jump off a ferry and swim to our shore, let's make sure it's a clean beach. So we're going to have a volunteer team that will be organized. It's on May 17th at 10 a.m. Folks will gather at the parking lot at Canal Park, also Douglas Park. And if anybody wants to let us know, just call the township and we'll connect you with our Public Works team. I'll be there, and we'll have a nice little beach cleaning party. Thank you.
Very good. Sounds like a game. Okay, tomorrow is our Health and Wellness Day. Right, Jewel? April 22nd, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Rec Center. And they have a blood drive from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. All right? That's tomorrow. Everybody come down here and get the blood pressure checked, et cetera, et cetera. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the blood drive is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. If I have any left after last night, I might come down here and donate some.
Blood drive here or at the rec center?
Rec Center.
Make sure we can have that out there.
Okay, so the Little League, like Eric said, is at behind Mitnick School, 9 a.m. this Saturday. And the Escape the Cape Triathlon, Sunday, June 8th.
They're also having something on June 7th, and like a little event.
Splash
information and a splash and run for the kids, but they're going to have like a little fair.
Okay. That's June 7th. The actual event is the 8th.
Yes.
4 levels of competition available.
I'll be in the 5th level.
Which one are you in? Do they have one called Slug Level? Because I'll probably enter that one.
I actually did it last year, and I'm trying to place this year in my age group, so we'll see how that works out. If I'm not sitting here at the next meeting, you'll know why.
I just want to survive in my age group. Okay, that's it. Open it up, call to the public. If you wish to address council, step forward. This gentleman over here.
Hello, council. Hello, mayor. Thank you very much I was here last week, or I should say 2 weeks ago, was it? And I was talking about the sidewalk, and I really appreciate you holding off, having the public hearing, and I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate that. One of the other things I'd like to recommend to you is that somebody that talks about dunes and the Army Corps of Engineers that would put a dune along that area that we're talking about where the sidewalk and all the other areas are supposed to be. I mean, I know that just up the street here, we only have about maybe 1 or 2 feet above high tide level. And if we had the 14-foot storm surge, which could be added to by the water coming down from all the rains and stuff, I'd like to know a little bit about where the dune would go. So when we have the public meeting, could you have somebody there to talk to us about what your plans are for the dune, if there is a dune going to be put into place, and if not, why not?
Okay, we'll do what we can.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council?
John Skoronsky, 607 Arctic. Last meeting, I complained about the potholes at the Acme on Bay Shore, Rose Hill at the swimming pool, and also the holes in the road at Breakwater and Bay Shore. Is Bay Shore a county road?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Why can't we get after the county and get them to fix it? It's been a long time that way.
You got it.
Yeah, I will contact them tomorrow. As you know, I wasn't here at the last meeting. I was away with the family on a vacation.
Okay.
What was the other two? It was at the Acme, another...
Breakwater and Bay Shore.
Near the pool's ours.
Where the pool is on
That's ours,
Rose
yeah.
Hill.
Rose Hill, okay.
And coming out of the Acme on the Bay Shore, which is horrendous.
Oh, I know the one there by the bank and McDonald's and...
Yes, sure. They did that ferry road one, they filled that in nice.
Yes, they did, thank you.
They did somewhere outside of Acme, but then the rest of it is garbage. It's like they skipped over all these potholes just to, I don't know.
It's terrible.
I'll get on it tomorrow.
Thank you, Bill, or Mike. Also, I have a question. Do we know how much money we're saving with the solar panels that were installed in the township compared to what we used to pay before they were installed?
Where at?
Are you talking about the schools?
The township don't have any solar panels?
No, we don't. The school, you're referring to the school or the
Well, I know they
MUA?
haven't, but I thought you guys had them over here.
The MUA has some.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you roughly how much they're saving at the school, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, no, I go to the school board
Yeah, okay.
meetings. You can find out.
It's over
Thank you.
over 100,000 a year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Gentleman all the way in the back?
Don Ems, North Cape May. I applaud you guys on thinking about the police service. Was there any thought given to using solar, as this gentleman spoke of, on that building? I mean, if you're going to an architect, now would be the time to do a feasibility of adding solar to that, and it wouldn't be cost effective.
Absolutely. I believe...
I mean, you're putting...
They're doing geothermal.
It might be...
Yeah, we talked about geothermal, and that's the one, I'm not, again, an engineer, but they do it underground for heating and cooling.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be cost prohibitive, but we are looking at solar panels.
Okay, I didn't hear it mentioned at all.
Yeah.
I thought that might be it might be a cost savings.
Solar panels we're looking at, and of course, we retrofit our buildings with natural gas too, so
Right, right.
we're doing everything we can to keep the cost down. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
We're also looking at the power purchase agreement, which would be a cost savings as well.
Right,
Right.
right.
And I think South Jersey Gas has initiatives too for energy savings. Okay, anybody else wish to address council? Close the public portion. Motion to adjourn. Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.